Hey guys, Corpse Flood here, and welcome back for another episode of Corpse Flood's Game Flood. Actually, a lot earlier than expected. I wasn't expecting to do another one of these till after Christmas, because as I mentioned in my last video, I was gonna, save up, do some Christmas shopping and stuff like that. But I decided to make a trip to Minneapolis to both catch a concert and meet up with a friend for the first time. That friend was the Game Grinder. He's been a huge supporter of the channel since pretty much right when I started it, and we've been talking for a while, and he's a big fan of metal as well, so we decided it was time to meet up and hit a show that we both really wanted to see, so that was cool. And also while we were there, he gave us a tour of the city and showed us all the cool game stores they have that aren't just, a GameStop, which was refreshing to go somewhere I don't live and be able to know where some stuff is that I usually wouldn't be able to find without, looking in the phone book or something like that. So without further ado, right when we met up, he presented me with something that is going to help out my channel a lot, actually. And that's a Hauppauge HD PVR, which means I can finally capture game footage and show that I play games, not just collect them. So that's going to be awesome. It has all the cords it needs with it, such as the hookups. It's actually hookups specifically for the Xbox 360, Wii, and PlayStation. So that's awesome right off the bat. But it's got hookups for all sorts of stuff, a component, AV. Unfortunately not HDMI, but there is a cord I bought for it that goes HDMI to component. So I can capture all manner of games now, and I'm super pumped about that. I've been looking to build a computer for quite a while to be able to capture stuff like that, and I'm still planning on doing that, but this will be very helpful in getting me started sooner rather than later. Also, on the way down there, I picked up a couple of these. Jones Cola did a Final Fantasy themed Whiz Energizing Elixir, which is pretty cool since Final Fantasy 15 came out. They're doing like a thing with Target, I think, just like they did last year with the Nuka-Colas for Fallout 4's release. So that's really awesome. I'd like to see them do more of that stuff. Maybe not just a Target exclusive though, because the nearest Target to me is 2 hours away. But nonetheless, it'd be cool if they just kept on doing it. Alright, so at the first store we went to, it's the only one I was actually familiar with. My aunt lives only about a block or two away from this, so I have been here before, but it's always good to go back. I try to make it my go-to when I go down there. I look forward to going to this store. And I got a good mixed bag of stuff. First up, for the Super Nintendo, I've actually been keeping an eye out for this for a little while. I've heard of it, but I rarely hear about it. It's a SNES RPG called Inindo, Way of the Ninja. I haven't really heard anything about it, to be honest, and it being a SNES RPG, it's kind of unheard of. So I'm going to see why I haven't heard of it. Maybe it's just not very many people know about it, or maybe it just sucks. But at the price I paid for it, it was definitely worth checking out. And it's by Koei, so I'm enjoying a lot of their newer games lately, so hopefully their old games were a good starting point too. Next up, I got a couple 3DS game here. First up was Final Fantasy Explorers, followed by Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, and next up was Xbox One, Lichdom, Battle Mage. I've been kind of keeping an eye on that. It showed up at our local store, and it was about $30 here, and it ended up being $10 where we grabbed it. And then another one I got off my list. I kind of had not really a specific list, but a couple things I wanted to look for. I was looking for the Wild Arms games for PS1, the Alundra games. Obviously Valkyrie Profile is a big one I've been looking for a while. Contra 3 for Super Nintendo. The second Star Ocean was another one. So I had kind of an idea, but being an all over the place collector of a bunch of different systems, it's kind of hard just to nail it down to a couple. And I got one off that list, and it was Alundra 2. So super happy to get that. I still need Alundra 1, but the price for that was right, and it's complete. So I was very happy to pick that up. Next up, we hit a store called High Score, and they had a pretty big selection of stuff too. So I got a few other things I've been keeping an eye on for a while too. First up, for Game Boy, I got the Castlevania Adventure. Not very hard to find by any means, but I haven't picked it up yet, so I was glad to grab that. I'm trying to get all the Castlevania games, and I'm only a few away from the complete set. I don't know if I'll ever get my hands on Rondo of Blood, but it's maybe if I get lucky sometime. Next up was a N64 game I've been trying to get for a while. Last time I saw it, it was kind of a ridiculous price. It's cheaper online, and I definitely didn't want to pick it up for the price they had it at before. It was about $35, which I thought was way off base, but the store had it for $10, so I picked up Shadowgate 64. I really liked the Shadowgate game for NES. It's just like a point-and-click adventure game. It's like a first-person, and you scroll around and you try to find like a key in the room hidden, or you pick a path to go down. It's really a really cool game for its time. So I was definitely wanting to try the new one. I've never played it before, but I've since playing Shadowgate for the NES, it's been a game I've been keeping an eye on. Next up, there was like a 3 for $10 bin, basically. I saw a couple games in there. It was mostly crap games, honestly, but there was a couple alright games in there. They just had a lot of stickers or something on them, but actually before I even got home to clean them up, I thought I was going to have to use, like Goo Gone and a magic eraser. I got them pretty clean. So first up was Tag Team Wrestling, a game I don't see very often. I'm not sure what it's worth, but it was, it was worth adding to the collection. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm sure they're terrible, but whatever. Next up is Magmax. This one was littered with labels. There was like 10 labels just on the front of it, and as you can see, I got it all off there without any sticker wear. Just got a little bit of ink I've got to get off there. I'll use the old magic eraser, and I'm sure it'll make quick work of that. Next up, it's not a special game by any means, except for that it's the last game I needed to complete my Lost N64 collection. I've seen it a bunch of times, and I've just been like, yeah, it's not really, I've had it, and I know it's not that good of a game. But I finally picked up Mission Impossible for N64. Like I said, I know it's terrible, but it feels really good to finally have all the games I originally had for N64 back, and another one for towards my complete collection that I hope to go for pretty soon. Last up is a game I recently picked up for the Xbox, but I was hoping for the PlayStation 2 edition, and that is Red Dead Revolver. I haven't even got to start playing the Xbox version yet, but I'll probably start with the PS2 version, to be honest. I'm trying to play through that and maybe play a bit more of Red Dead Redemption before Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out, so looking forward to that big time. And last but not least, this is the store I was really looking forward to going to for quite a while. I'm part of the Minnesota Retro Gamer Society page on Facebook, and people seem to be raving about this store called We Got Game all the time. So I had a bunch of trade stuff I brought. I brought down like a duffel bag full of just stuff I couldn't trade, and I just wanted to get rid of, honestly, because I didn't, doubles are no good deal if no one wants to trade them. So I just brought it down there. I bought a bunch of game guides, a bunch of extra crap, honestly. And it turned out to not disappoint, keeping in mind that Black Friday was just the Friday before, and they said they got pretty cleaned out. I still managed to find a lot of really cool stuff at this store. First up, we got a couple PS2 games. First was Contra, Shattered Soldier. I know there's a terrible Contra game, and I think it's just the PS1 version, but I guess I'll have to play this one and find out. It looked pretty cool on the back, so hopefully it holds up and it's at least a decent entry in the Contra series. Next up, I got the Capcom Classics Collection. A couple of videos ago I got a few arcade cabinets, and inside one of the arcade cabinets that had been hollowed out, and the guy who gave it to me had a PS2 in there running this game because it was a Ghosts and Goblins cabinet. So, and Ghosts and Goblins is in this collection, so that's the only thing he asked for back. He's like, "You think I could get that disc back?" And I was like, "Ah, man," because it's actually a really good game. So I was glad to find that for a decent price and pick it up because there's a lot of cool games in here. Stuff like Street Fighter 2, Ghosts and Goblins, Legendary Wings, Bionic Commando, Forgotten Worlds, Ghouls and Ghosts, and a whole ton of others. Some good shoot 'em ups too, like 1942 and stuff like that. So a lot of these games I already had, but it's always cool to get a collection of good games. And next up, for the last PS2 game I got, a game I didn't even know about until that day, but there's a Shadow Man 2, The Second Coming. So I'm actually happy about that because I really enjoyed the Shadow Man game I got a few months ago in my Video Games Monthly box. So it's cool to know that there's a second one. I actually had no idea whatsoever, so it was really cool to find that. Next up, got a couple of cartridge games all over the place. I don't know why I was looking for this game, but I ended up settling for this one, but I was actually looking everywhere for no reason, just because it was a cheap game I wanted to add to the collection. But it was True Lies. I got the Genesis version. I was looking everywhere for the Super Nintendo version. This store had the Super Nintendo version, but unfortunately it was a complete in box version, and I wasn't looking to pay $40 for a $10 game. Because like I said before, I'm a collector, but I'm kind of a cheap collector, and the box doesn't really matter too much to me. I'm not going to pay $30 extra for that. But I'm glad to have it for the Genesis nonetheless. I love my Genesis, and I looked it up because, a lot of the older games, just because they're on both consoles, it wasn't like it is now, like where the PS4 version is exactly like the Xbox One version. A lot of the times games were completely different. Look at games like Batman Returns, absolutely different game, just a bunch of games like that. So you had to be careful, because you could play a game at a buddy's house, and if he had the Super Nintendo, you'd be like, "Oh man, that game's so awesome." Then you go, "Well, I only got the Genesis," and you'd buy the Genesis version and it was crap, or the other way around. But usually the Genesis version was the inferior version, unfortunately. But so I was happy to look that up and find out that they're pretty close to the same game, so I'm happy to have it. Next up, I got some Super Nintendo games. Nothing too special, but a couple of commons I was looking to knock off the list. First up is one I'm surprisingly don't own yet for the Super Nintendo, but I recently found out that you don't need the Super Scope to play this. You can actually use it, play it with the Mario Paint mouse, so that's pretty cool. And that is Terminator 2, the arcade game. Huge Terminator fan. I've probably said it a million times. I love the Terminator. If I was to own one more arcade cabinet of my choice, it would either be Ninja Turtles or the Terminator 2 arcade game. So super happy to have that. That's the closest thing I'll probably come to getting it for quite a while at least, unless I get super lucky. Next up is another one called D-Force. I'm pretty sure it's a shmup game. I've never played it honestly, but I look forward to trying it out. And I think I remember hearing that it was a pretty decent game. It was only like $5, so I was happy to grab that. Next up is a game that I should own by now, with how many Super Nintendo games I own, but I never seem to come across it in the lots that I pick up. So I finally just went ahead and grabbed it when I saw it. And that's Killer Instinct. Huge fan of this game. I've been a fan of this game for years, and I saw it at the first store we went at, and they wanted $35 for it, and I was like, no way, I'm not paying that much for it. I know it's like a $12, $15 game, and we got had it for like $14, I think. So I was definitely happy to pay that price for it. So I like my fighting games on the Super Nintendo, so I was definitely stoked to get that. Next up, I got a bunch of PS1 games. Like I said, I wasn't out to really spend a lot of money because I did still have Christmas shopping to do while we were in the city. but I wanted to get some decent stuff. And with my trade-ins, I actually got a really good store credit. So I picked up a few things I probably wouldn't have grabbed otherwise with my store credit. First up was a pretty cheap game. It's this RPG, but I've honestly never really heard of it again. So I thought it'd be cool to check this out. And it's called Shadow Madness. It's a 3-disc game, so I assume it's pretty long, but I'll have to check it out and be able to, maybe I'll do a review on it and see why I haven't heard of it. It's from Crave Entertainment, and I've played a few pretty decent games by them, so let's hope it's a diamond in the rough, and I picked out a good one. And next, when I was up at the counter, the guy said, "Oh yeah, there's a few trade-ins just a little while before you guys got here," and he plunked down these games, and I was like, "Wow, I never even heard of this one." First one being North by Northwest, which I wasn't sure if it was like a third Lost Vikings game, or if it was just like the second one, like a remaster kind of deal, or an upgrade. And it turns out it's actually an upgrade of the second one, but I don't own any of the Lost Vikings games yet, so I was very, very happy to find that, especially not even knowing it exists. And the second one can get pretty pricey on Super Nintendo, as most games that are good for the Super Nintendo do. So yeah, I snatched that up. It was I think they only wanted like $19 for it, so that was good. Another complete game. I mainly only grabbed complete games. I think everything I grabbed actually was complete, so that was awesome. And then when he plunked this down, I was super happy because this was one of the ones on my list. But unfortunately, I felt a little bad because the Game Grinder also was hoping to grab this game, but he was a real gentleman and said, "You know what, man, you take it." Because I think he was trying to hold some money for the concert we're going to, kind of like I was, but not doing as well at. And that game is Star Ocean: The Second Story. Super happy. During the summer, when I got one of my big scores of RPGs and stuff, I got a CD case and it only had disc 1 in this, so it was basically like a demo. So I'm super happy to grab that, and it's the last Star Ocean I need to complete my collection, not counting the PSP versions, which are remakes of the first and second one anyway, I believe. So every main series Star Ocean game I have now, with the repro of the Super Nintendo one all the way up to the one for PS4. So I'm really pumped to have that. Speaking of grabbing another big one off my list, the last game I grabbed on this trip was the very first, Suikoden. Not a rare game by any means, and definitely not the most expensive PS1 iteration of Suikoden, but one that's eluded me until just now, and it was a little bit above what I thought it was going to be worth, but it wasn't as much compared to the other two stores where I saw it. So I had to snatch it up with my store credit. So now I have all the main series parts of this game too, and only ones I'm missing now are the DS one and Suikoden Tactics. So that's a cheap game. I've got it in my Amazon thing. I'm probably going to pull the trigger on it. It's only like $9. And the DS one's a little up there. It's about $30, which isn't terrible by any means. I'll have to snag it. I was kind of holding off getting those two until I got the first one. I plan to do a playthrough of just the entire series pretty soon here. And I'll probably be doing some Let's Plays or something like that with the new HD PVR. And before I go, there was a couple other small trades I did locally when I got back. First game I got was Doom 3. I just traded, I can't even remember what I traded honestly for this, but I already had this for the Xbox One, but I really wanted the Doom poster for it. And my copy didn't have that, so I want to say I just traded for the poster, but I got rid of the extra one right away anyway, so that was no big deal. And then I got this one from a buddy for a couple of things he was looking for, a couple of small things, and that's WWE 2K17. He bought it on Black Friday. He got a pretty good deal on it, but he said he honestly couldn't get into it. The QuickTime struggle moments or whatever that they have in these games, he's like, I don't know if I was just confused or if it just kind of lame. He's like, you can borrow it and try it out, and then we figured it out a trade from the little bit of stuff I actually have left. And so I'm happy to have that. I like the wrestling game still, even though I don't watch wrestling. So the only way I even know a lot of the new wrestlers is I beat them up in games. So my dad or someone will tell me about like something that's going on in wrestling, and I'm like, if it's not someone from like the Attitude Era or before, I have no idea who he's talking about. Unless I play this, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy kept running in on my matches. He was annoying. I hope he loses, or whatever he's talking about. And then another thing, I traded him some stuff a little while before that, and ended up being able to grab the new Zelda amiibos. So there's the 2-pack with Toon Link and Zelda. There's the 8-bit Link, which is honestly pretty ugly looking, but love my Zelda games nonetheless. And I have the 8-bit Mario, but yeah, he doesn't transfer as well to 3D 8-bit as Mario did, that's for sure. And then last up is my favorite out of these, the Ocarina of Time Link. He's playing as Ocarina. That's pretty badass. All in all, it was an awesome trip to Minneapolis, and it was great to meet up with the Game Grinder, and I definitely have a new good friend in the cities, so whenever I'm down there, we're going to meet up. And this time I brought my video camera to do, I was going to do like a pickup video or a game hunting video with him, but we got in there honestly a couple hours later than scheduled, and so we were a little bit behind schedule running around, so unfortunately we didn't do that this time, but definitely next time for sure we'll get some kind of videos going. It was really cool to meet him, and it was an awesome trip in general. So thank you very much for being an awesome host and driving us around. And that's it for this episode. See you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and also check out the Game Grinders page where he does his pickup videos. Alright, you guys have a good one.